G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing the Segway Ninebot C2 Lite e-kick scooter. You can see right here. Let's ride. So the C2 Lite is right down the bottom of the rather vast Segway Ninebot kick scooter range. They've got a heap of entry levels and entry points for people to come in at, and this is right down the bottom. It's designed for kids. It's designed for people 6 to 10 years old, and even not even just kids, but beginner kids, people who are just getting started, and it's supposed to provide an experience which isn't particularly rich on features, but just allows people to get going and get on a kick scooter and have that experience from a very young age without going too far into an investment. And as I'm going to go into over the course of this review, it does come down to that price point and what you can get at the price point that this is at, and what you could pay more to get, and what you get for paying more money if you go up from there. So we're going to talk about all of that in this review, and we will start with the price. So here in Australia, this retails for $399. Now, I have seen that going for sub 300, so it's $299 at the time of me saying this video, or saying this, doing this review. It is $299 on the official website, so it's $100 off, but I've also seen it on other websites for even a bit lower than that, in that kind of $280 range. So that's what you can expect to pay to get an entry-level e-kick scooter from Segway here in Australia. Now, as a comparison, the model up from this, which is the CT Pro, there used to be a C2. There used to be a C2, just a plain, so there's a C2 Lite, a C2 and a C2 Pro. So you might come across the C2 in your research, but I don't think that's currently on sale anymore. I think you just got a C2 Lite and a C2 Pro. Now, if you step up to the C2 Pro, it's going to cost you about $200 more. So it's retailing for $599, but I'm seeing it for around $499, but you still got that $200 price jump there. And if you step up from there to the first kind of entry level for the adult kick scooters, which is the E2 Plus, you're looking at an additional $100 on top again on the C2 Pro, so $300 more than what you're paying for here, or effectively double the price. So that gives you an idea of where it's sitting with its price. And as we go through this review, you're going to get a pretty clear idea, I hope, as to whether or not that type of investment is going to hit the mark for you, because this does do a really good job, but for a very specific use case, in my opinion at least. Anyway, let's have a look at the specs. So as mentioned, its recommended age category is 6 to 10. Now that's it's more based on the rider's weight and height. So it can take a maximum rider weight of 50 kilograms, and all the kind of, like, when it talks about range and battery life and things like that, it's assuming a weight of 30 kilograms. So that gives you an idea. 50 kilograms, yes, it can take it, but it's going to have to significantly impinge on the rest of the specs I'm about to give you. And the recommended rider height is 115 to 145 centimeters. Now, my 9-year-old is already right at 145 centimeters. So that gives you an idea. The recommended age is really, it's more about that height and that weight. They're the two key indicators, especially given with this particular device, it's not adjustable. You can't adjust the steering or the handles to meet another height. Now, the maximum speed is 16 kilometers an hour. And the maximum range, if you're traveling at that 16 kilometers an hour, is up to 9 kilometers. That's in sport mode. Now, if you drop to standard mode, there's three riding modes: power assist mode, standard mode, and sport mode. And if you drop to standard mode, you can get up to 12 kilometers worth of range. But sport, I think, is where most kids are going to end up. It's only got a climbing angle of just 5% too, so approximately 5% climbing angle, which obviously isn't that great. It's not going to be able to do much in the way of hills if you're intending to ride it, from A to B, as opposed to just for fun. Now, inside it's got 130 watt maximum motor power, a battery capacity of 56 watt hours, and that should get you around 70 minutes worth of riding time, assuming you're at that 30 kilogram weight range. A bit less, you might get more; a bit more, you definitely won't get 70 minutes. Now, the charging time, I'm going to go into this a little bit, but that's approximately 5.5 hours, which is a pain. In terms of physical specifications, you're looking at a 7.8 kilogram weight, so not too bad. It's reasonably portable. The dimensions, it's 856 by 400 by 950 millimeters. And other features of note, you've got 7-inch hollow solid tyres. So they're hollow tyres means that they're pretty much maintenance free. They're not going to pop on you. A rear drum brake. It's got RGB lights under the footboard, so you can basically, it can light up underneath as you're kind of moving at night. It's got an IPX4 rating, an LED battery display. It's got a smart battery management system with 6-level protection. That's a particularly important note. So that basically means that the battery is going to protect itself if it goes into meltdown rather than, you know, explode. And there's a grip tape footboard as well, so you've got extra grip on your foot when you're scooting. So assembly's been really quite easy. It just slid straight on in the end, and it's actually provided a really healthy Allen key here to just finish the job and tighten those up. And otherwise everything seems to be in order. I can't really see too much else we have to do. What do you think so far, bud?
It looks really cool.
Yeah? Can't wait to get on it? Alright, let's talk about design, and there's obviously not a hell of a lot going on here. I will say straight away that it feels very, very strong and sturdy. It feels well made straight out of the gate. As soon as you're holding it and feeling it, you're moving it around, it's got a weight to it. It feels very purposeful in its design in that way. It doesn't have that, you know, kind of plasticky, flimsy feeling that you might think you might get at the bottom of the range of something. It doesn't have that feeling at all. They do, as you can see, it comes in blue, and that's it. So there's only the blue colour, and I think that's a bit of a swing and a miss. I think that potentially, considering the audience, 6 to 10-year-olds, boys and girls, that they probably could have mixed that up a little bit, done a little bit more there to just provide some alternative options for kids. And in particular, for example, my daughter, she just loves pink, and she would have loved a pink option. But just a bit of variety there, or at least some way I'll be able to reskin it potentially with some stickers or something like that they could sold as an additional accessory, even would have been a nice approach. Now, if we come in a little bit closer, I'll show you a few of the other key details. Up here on the top, you've got the new accelerator. So this is a much better system than what Segway used to have, which is the kind of, so there used to be more like a motorbike, right? So you pull back on here. Now, you just flick that with your thumb, and that's your accelerator. So you're going down like that. That's all you got to do to accelerate. And this is a much better system. I'll tell you why. Because as soon as you panic, you tend to do this. Or if you start to fall, you tend to do this. And it's an often something that makes a small accident into a big accident is when you accidentally go full throttle when you're trying to just stop doing everything. And this system I find a lot easier to use. It's a lot less strenuous on the wrist as well. So I'm really glad they've included that in this base model. I know they're including it on their really high-end models as well. It's just good. So easy, similar braking system to what most kids will be used to on a bike. So you do use this for the rear disc brake. But you don't have that kind of, as down here, you don't have that classic kind of like, I'll stamp on the back, which you might do with a non-electric kick scooter to brake. It's all up here with the hand. Elsewhere, you've got the lights that come in from below here. So they just basically shine down, so to kind of illuminate the ground underneath. And you've got this very basic but kickstand here, but it does the job, and some reflectors as well. Here's that grip pad, which is quite abrasive. In fact, I tried to clean it before with a piece of paper towel. I just shredded the paper towel to bits. So, but yeah, so that's where they've done a good job with the grip there. Your feet definitely don't come loose. And over on this, you've got this little screen. Doesn't tell you too much except for your battery when you're charging, and the charging is all done in there. Now, the two places that I think that they've definitely let themselves down with the design is here over at the kickstand. So here with the steering rod. So unlike the other models, pretty much every other model, you can't fold this down. So it's stuck in that upright position. So you can't fold it down and you can't make it go up or down. So it is what it is. And this is actually quite cumbersome for two things. It's quite cumbersome for storage, because if this is just folded right down, obviously taking a lot smaller footprint in your garage or wherever you want to put it. It's a lot easier to carry too, because this becomes a handle when it's down kind of horizontal like so. But also, when you're trying to get it in the car, so when you're trying to throw it in the car or in your boot or anything like that, you want to take the kids down to the park, something along those lines, that's when you do wish that you could just fold this down. And it's a bit of a weird thing not to have in there, in my opinion, because it can't cost that much to allow it to fold. Like, I understand more battery, more power, those kind of elements maybe adding significantly to the retail cost, but a foldable steering rod I wouldn't have thought would have been that big a deal. The other thing is, as well, is it's only IPX4, So it'll handle splashes and it'll handle light rain, but anything more than that and it's in trouble. And it's got a lithium-ion battery in it, right? So you don't really want it to get soaking wet. And kids just have a habit, no matter what you do, they just have a habit of leaving things like this out in the rain all night. You don't even realise it was out there, so you wake up in the morning and come down. So I would have preferred for a device that's specifically focused on 6 to 10-year-old children, if this thing was able to withstand being left in the backyard or out the front or on the driveway, or wherever it happens to be, during a giant rain event. I think that's something that they could definitely look at in the future. What do you think so far?
Really fun.
Yeah? What did you think originally? Were you a bit scared to start with?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you have to be scared in the end? How come?
But I think it doesn't go that fast, but once you start going on it, you feel like you're gonna fall over, but then you don't.
Right, so it felt like it was going to be really fast and you're going to fall, but then you felt okay. You got used to the brakes yet? You need some more practice.
Yeah.
Yeah? Anything else you like about it?
I like the colour of it. I like the blue and the stripes. And I like how it makes colour underneath, like there's lights underneath.
Yeah? That
Yeah.
seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be really fun to ride in the dark.
Alright, we'll do some more testing, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, on to performance. And for this part of my review, I'm really just going to take my son's word for it, because this is my 9-year-old son. He's in my test subject with this. It is built for him. It's not built for me. I'm significantly over the 50 kilogram limit. And I'm topping out the height limit pretty hard too. So it's not for me, it's for him. And 16 kilometers an hour, look, to me, that's just very, very, very slow. And so I was surprised when he got off it and he was like, Dad, I went so fast. I was going so fast. And it's just a handy reminder of the difference between, you know, the way that young kids engage with the world and older kids and adults. So for me, 16 k's an hour, I was like, oh geez, that's so slow, you know, it's so pedestrian. But for him, it was really quite fast and zippy. He felt like he was hanging on for dear life, you know. And as he started to get used to it, and he got used to it very quickly. All of a sudden, he was, you know, zigzagging and trying to brake really, you know, later each time, and having that kind of fun with it. So, you know, through the lens of a 9-year-old boy, it's an absolute winner. There's no doubt about it. He's really enjoyed using it. Now, in terms of the battery range and the battery performs, I found it to be quite good if you're just zipping around. And actually, like that 70-minute roughly time limit, you know, 70 minutes roughly you get on the battery. When you're just, like, you know, zipping around on the street here, on the driveway, you take it down to the park, we took it down to the lake, the kids rode around the lake, things like that, it actually seems to last quite a long time. It doesn't seem to drop its charge. It seems to hold its charge even if you don't use it for, you know, a few weeks. You come back, it hasn't just dropped to zero, which I thought was really good. For that kind of use case, I think it's perfect. If you're thinking, oh, I'm going to ride this to school, which is like 2 kilometers down the road or something like that, I think that's where it starts to become a problem, because it only goes on 5-degree hills, which isn't much. And as soon as you start to hit more hill than that, if your kid's got, you know, close to that 50 kilogram weight limit, that type of thing, that battery's going to really start to struggle, and you're really going to struggle to make the distance, I think, without doing a lot of manual kicking yourself, which you can do. You can switch it down to like power assisting mode, which is kind of like, it'll just kick in and help you glide, rather than go the full sport mode, which is all about kind of just you having your feet on the board and just going around. So you can kind of play with that a little bit, but that's kind of where I think its sweet spot is. Now, on the negative side of things, it's just not very flexible. So because you can't adjust the height of this, and because it's such a specific type of use case, your kid's got a fair chance of outgrowing it reasonably quickly. There's the fair chance that they're either going to get too high for it and you can't adjust the height for it, they're going to get too heavy for it, or they're just going to get over that 16 kilometers an hour limit, or that kind of less range, less zip, less hill that you get when you start stepping up models. So that's definitely a bit of a downside. And the other big downside is the charging time. So 5.5 hours is huge. That's a long time for a kid to wait to go for a scoot. And you can't leave these things on charge overnight. Like, that's just, do not do that. You just don't leave lithium-ion batteries of any shape or form. This isn't necessarily a Segway thing. This is all brands. I would recommend that too. You just don't want to leave them on overnight. So as a result, you're pretty much looking for 5.5 hours somewhere in the day when you're around to be able to charge this thing. So I think they've really got to work on the charging time, because it's not that big a battery and it really shouldn't take that long. As a result, with the Segway Ninebot C2 Lite, I think there's a very specific type of person this is going to fit very nicely. And that's that kind of person who has someone who is in that 6 to 8, maybe slightly pushing 9 spot, who is very much a beginner, who you want to just kind of give that thrill of having that electric experience of just a bit more speed and a bit more zip and a bit more fun on the road and being pushing it themselves. Something that's where you're looking in that kind of $300 budget range and you really don't have any further to bounce on that, then it's going to do a job in that kind of very tight niche, of which there's plenty of people, don't get me wrong. But I think if you've got more budget, and especially if your kid is in that 9, definitely in that 10 range, then you probably want to try and step up that extra $200 and get to the CT Pro, because it gives you a bit more flexibility with the it's got an adjustable steering rod here, so you can lift it up to meet their height a bit better. It's got more range, so it's got more, the battery lasts longer. It's got a Bluetooth speaker in built, so it's got a bit more flair, a bit more flexibility, and it's a bit more zip and power to it. Even though it still tops out at 16 kilometers an hour, you can just go a bit further, you can get there a bit quicker, all those kind of things. It's just that little bit more oomph that I think you'll need as soon as your kids kind of get into that range. And definitely, obviously, if you're 10 plus, you're starting to look towards the adult ones anyway. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Segway Ninebot C2 Lite e-kickscooter. I hope that was helpful. Make sure you check out my channel. I've got plenty of other videos up about all kinds of things, including a video that covers the entire Segway Ninebot range, at least at the time that I am talking to you now at the start of 2025. So you can go check that out if you want to see the entire range. But otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll check you later.